very much for attending today. I hope everybody is safe. I know it's a boring times where everybody needs to be home, just sitting behind the Zoom from the morning to the evening. Trust me, it's not an easy time for everybody, including myself. So I'm Hamza Sulaiman. I'm the AVI product specialist for VMware. And today's session, I'll try to take as much time as it's possible. I'm not sure how much time Rajesh is gonna allow me to go for, but it's gonna be fun. It's a nice, fantastic product. We will go through it. It's not gonna be a very technical deep dive. It's more overview with some details, why, what's, where we coming from. And mainly I'm gonna try to focus on the value add and the value proposition with AVI Networks is bringing to the market of application load balancers and application firewall. So that being said, let me start with a background, because it's always good to know that where this technology or this company came from, right? As probably most of you are aware, AVI has been acquired by VMware last July, which is July 2019. And it's been almost a year now since the acquisition. And to be honest, since the acquisition, there have been a lot of changes on the really positive side of the story. But before the acquisition, actually, AVI is a US-based company. We are today more than 8 years old. Headquarters used to be in San Francisco, and before the acquisition, of course. And we were somewhere around 400 employees worldwide, covering the region. And for years and years, actually, we've been, myself and AVI team here in the Middle East, we've been operating and running in the Middle East almost 3 years before the acquisition. So AVI has been recognized worldwide by multiple vendors, multiple customers, and multiple analytics and I would say auditors for being a very cool kind of technology. I would say more innovative, more creative kind of technology. And AVI has a big credit as a game changer. It's time to change the load balancing, application firewall, global load balancing, application SSL termination, which in terminology, or in IT terminology, we call it application delivery controllers. So AVI is mainly focused on application delivery controllers. They show up in the market to change the game and to re-innovate application delivery controllers into something more software-defined, cloud-like, interesting story that customers, people, partners, they're gonna like using it. It's gonna be simplified and will show a lot of value add. Next slide, please. Great. So this is more a marketing slide. I think it's the only marketing I have, but you know, sometimes we have to keep the marketing people happy. It's not an optional, but idea behind it is I would like to highlight the way or the perception that AVI Networks came from. Before AVI start building and delivering and offering this technology, application delivery controllers been there for a long time. I would say more than 20, 25 years now. Personally, I work for F5 for 10 years. I work for Citrix. I work for multiple load balancing and application firewalling technology. We call them appliance-based, where they ship appliances to customers. You need to rack it, cable it, configure it, and then it will start working as a load balancer application firewall. And not to forget the credit for such a technology like F5, they were the first to do layer 7 application content switching and application inspection. But if we look into the application delivery controller market over the last, I would say over the last 10 years, it's the same. It hasn't changed at it. So if you look into F5 TMOS version 10 up to version 14, which is the one they've been talking about it today, it's the same features, it's the same look and feel, it's pretty much the same concept. It's an appliance or virtual appliance. If we're talking about V edition, it's a TMOS on a VM that you can run it on a vSphere or any kind specific limit of hypervisors. And it has the same functionality, which is load balancing, application security, SSL floating, global load balancing. But it's time to change. It's time to adopt the change, because data centers themselves, they change. Now we're talking about data centers are completely software defined. We have a complete switching fabric on software. We have, as you know, even VMware today is the leader in things related to network security with the VMware NSX. And the whole data center has transformed into a software-defined data center. And the whole operation of the data centers has transformed into an automated, predefined, orchestrated, zero-touch data centers. That says, without this transformation happen to make operation, adoption, agility for data centers going higher without the sacrificing or without losing any value of application or data center security. So with this transformation, which happening to data center and data centers today, AVI needed to bring to the market a new technology, a new application delivery and security technology that has all features, functions that existing appliance-based load balancers and application firewalls they have, but adopting the software-defined concept. So we decided to bring a software-defined cloud-like application delivery controller, which cover all enterprise-grade feature of load balancing, application firewall, global load balancing. I'll talk about feature in a minute, but it still can be software. It is agile. It can be automated. It's flexible. It's easy to be modified and easy to be adopted with new and next generation data centers. So we have re-architect application delivery controllers, and as of today, we have created new architect, is what we call actually a distributed architecture, where we have introduced a control plane with existing technology like F5 or Citrix and others. You can see that they have appliances. You need to manage each appliance by itself. Without it, we have created a distributed architecture where you have a control plane that can manage as many as 250 AVI load balancer and WAF. The load balancers and WAFs, they can be distributed across multiple platforms. And as mentioned, they are pure software. When we talk about pure software, means they are software. It's not a virtual images. It's a software can be deployed in any platform. As of today, idea behind being software means we would like to adopt customers or our partner existing setup and existing environment. So we would like to have AVI being deployed in any hypervisor they have. If you have a hypervisor, vSphere, Hyper-V, Acropolis, KVM, or ZenSource, or any hypervisor they have, we can have, or we would like to deploy AVI over there. If you are standardizing containerized environment like Docker, Mesos, Kubernetes, OpenShift, VMware, Kubernetes, any kind of containers that they are standardizing and they're using, we would like AVI to be used over there without have you to deploy or ship appliances or add any extra component to be more accurate. If customers or partners doesn't really yet standardizing software-defined data centers, AVI still can be deployed in a perimeter and being used as an appliance-based technology. So we have created to be software-defined platform independent, means it can work in any platform on-prem, and it can work in any cloud they might be looking or considering at today. So AVI networks as of today can be deployed in AWS, it can be deployed in Azure, and it can be deployed in Google Cloud as well. I'll talk about automation and integration in a minute. All right. So as mentioned, idea behind AVI network, it's not just let's create another load balancer, another WAF, and just go over there to the market and start competing with existing technology. The idea is we would like to create a software-defined load balancer, application firewall, global load balancer, application visibility, application automation engine, and we would like it to cover all existing feature function of other technologies. So we're not going to start from zero. We're going to start from where other technologies like F5, Citrix, A10, and others, they are standing today, and we will add all the software, the scalability, the automation, the cloud package and feature that next generation data centers are looking for today. So AVI networks as a next generation ADC, as of today, cover every single enterprise feature function of application load balancing. Starting from layer 3, going to SSL offloading, going to layer 5 session handling, layer 7 content switching and load balancing, with all advanced kit that it might come with, including compression, caching, optimization, decision make, health monitor, and in detail covering all feature function existing appliances they have. Covering all security features functions as well, and here we're talking about network security, session and SSL security, application security, and even DDoS security if we're talking about transactional security, not volumetric DDoS. Talking about transactional based DDoS protection. All right. And as well as while we're offering application load balancing, global load balancing as well, which is multiple data center load balancing, where we'll be able to instruct the user automatically to move between multiple data centers according to the status of the data centers, according to the status of the services they're trying to reach at each and every data center, and according to a business policy that you as an admin or you as an operator, you can apply to ensure that your business continuity as per the best practice. We have enabled these features by adding as well analytics module, which is, I'll talk about it in detail. Analytics module is AVI way to make traffic more visible to administrators, to customers, to application team, to operator, to security admins, because visibility is security 101. Visibility is operation 101, and visibility is the key point that will help not only application, network, operation, and management to understand the traffic, to troubleshoot it when it's needed, and to fix it as fast as possible. We have added a whole bunch of application visibility. I'll try to, actually, I have a setup where I'll try to take you through a demo, quick demo, to show you the level of the visibility, the features that we can configure, and the easiness of adding a security layers without extra complication. And we have focused on integration. I'll talk about it as well, with pretty much all private and public cloud orchestrators out there today. So our focus today is VMware, yes, because we are VMware, and I am paid by VMware. Vera, yes, answering your question, AVI load balancer, hypervisor agnostic, right? Correct. We can work in any hypervisor. It doesn't need to be a vSphere. I love vSphere. We have great integration, by the way, which we don't have with any hypervisors with vSphere, but we still can work with any other hypervisor, including Hyper-V, Acropolis, as mentioned, KVM, and more. All right. So back to the point before Vera's question, we have created a built-in predefined automation with almost every orchestrator out there in the market. And we're talking about orchestrators who run on-prem, or orchestrators they work on the cloud, like AWS Manager or Azure Orchestrator or AKS or so on. And that to make automation and software-defined story simplified without the need to have an expertise on building code and commands and REST APIs. Although AVI technology, which is the centralized manager service engines, which the load balancers and the WAF, they are full REST API exposed to developers if they want to build any calls or GET or commands to add an extra orchestration layer to our technology. All right. So in summary, as of today, what we are covering is we are an enterprise-grade load balancer. We're talking about layer 4 to layer 7, all advanced features, content switching, iRoles, if you know what iRoles are, SSL offloading, advanced health monitor, in depth. And here, if you ask me what's the difference between AVI load balancer and NSX load balancer, AVI load balancer is a very detailed enterprise feature load balancer, cover a lot of specifications, customizations, requirements, details, feature when things come to load balancing. NSX load balancer is more as basic basic level load balancing comparing to load balancing. As on top of the enterprise load balancer, AVI is a global load balancer. If you are aware of the technology, it's a GSLB, which load balancing multiple data centers and moving users across the data center based on service, data center, or business policy. And AVI as well offering a web application firewall. I have a couple slides added at the bottom. I'll talk about it. It's a detailed, full-fledged web application firewall with multiple tiers. I'll talk about it as well. And AVI is a DNS engine where you can use AVI to do DNS services. We're not a DNS box, but we have a DNS capabilities that will help us to deliver our GSLB functionality. That help us to secure the backend DNS servers. And we are a container ingress services. We can be working as an ingress controller for a container environment. And here I'm talking about multiple container environments. I'm talking about Kubernetes, I'm talking about OpenShift, I'm talking about VMware Kubernetes, I'm talking about Rancher, and I'm talking about multi-containerized environment. And we are enterprise-grade ingress controller for containers. And on top of all these functionality, we added the analytics layer to show you in detail what exactly that you want to have. Yeah, correct, Radish. If you have a question, just feel free typing it on the chat, and I'll be more than happy to answer it as I'm going through my presentation. All right. Well, Rajesh, if there is no questions, that means I'm doing a terrible job. So I hope it's not the case. All right. So I've talked about what kind of technology do we have, what kind of features that we have today. And to be honest, I've decided to add this part because it's really important to know why we are talking about a different or a new load balancer, why the load balancers are there in the market for the last 15, 20 years. Today, we are on AVI standing on a different position than any other load balancing and technology on the market. We would like to make a difference, and we would like to introduce this technology as a next generation load balancers and application firewall. And the reason we believe, or personally as well, I believe this is a next generation and having a different stand positioning than any other load balancing and technology is we have different architecture. So let me take you through the points. I'll highlight them to you, and I hope by the end of the points, you will understand where we're standing as of today. So if you're looking into any existing technology like F5, NGINX, Citrix, A10, you're gonna see that they deploy load balancers by load balancers. You need to deploy them manually, you need to configure them manually, and you need to access each and every one to configure. It requires a lot of cabling if you are talking about F5 appliances. And you are talking about inconsistency when things related to features. Means if you need a software load balancer, you can go with NGINX. But if you need a WAF, you have to go with F5 appliance. If you need GTM, you have to buy it as an extra license. And you have to configure each and every one from a different interface. So NGINX has a different interface than GTM, and GTM has a different interface than the WAF, and each need to be configured manually, deployed manually, and troubleshooted as well. So this whole thing, we have changed it, and we are bringing a unified distributed architecture. That means we have a centralized manager. This centralized manager is a software-defined centralized manager as well, can be deployed in any platform, any hypervisor, any containerized environment, can be deployed on-prem or on cloud. It's up to how you like it to be. And from that centralized manager, you can automatically deploy the load balancers, the WAF, and the global load balancers. You can deploy them to be deployed in any cloud, private or public. You can just simply say, deploy me 2 load balancers on vSphere setup I have on my data center. Deploy me another 2 WAFs on my, for example, on my OpenStack setup I have on the DMZ. Deploy me 2 GSLB on my AWS setup, and he will automatically deploy it for you. You will configure all your load balancers, WAF and global load balancers, using the same simple and clean interface. I'll show it to you during the demo. You don't need to access each one by itself. And this controller or this distributed architecture allow us to offer so many features does not exist today on the market. Example, as mentioned it, auto deploy. It means engines will be built automatically. You don't need to import and deploy OVA file as an example for AVI load balancer. AVI load balancer will be created automatically. With this distributed architecture and the software story, you can have multiple AVI load balancers working as active at the same time, which a new feature we're bringing out there to the market. So you don't need to worry about active standby and paying a lot of money for the standby just to be a standby. AVI can be M plus N. It means you can have 3 active, 2 standby, 6 active, 5 standby, any M plus N combination that you want to do. You can simplify management with all feature, all engines in one simple interface. You don't need to access the load balancers by themselves. You can scale out the AVI engines from the controller. Scale out can be manual or automatic. You can build a policy says if the load balancer CPU is above 90%, increase the size of the load balancer from 1 to 2 to 5 gig to 20 gig to 21 gig. And you can jump to any hub that you want to jump it. So there is no specific hubs while you're upgrading. And as mentioned, upgrading can be manual or can be automated. And to have it automated, you don't need to build a script. It's just a configuration of the controller. And it's not only you can upsize the load balancer and the AVI controller, the WAF, you can downsize them as well. So if you have a 10 gig load balancer sitting on the DMZ, doing a fantastic job, but it's only processing 3 gig, you can downsize it to 5, take the extra 5 gig because they're gonna automatically go back to the controller as a licensing engine, and then ask the controller to use these 5 extra gig throughput to build another load balancer on the UAT to be used for testing people. It's really a dynamic licensing module. And we have created a new feature like something called auto heal. Auto heal means if any of the load balancers, the WAF or the global load balancers fail, you know, technology sometimes have its own way. You have a code issue, you have a host issue, you have kind of any issue laid up that engine that our load balancer does not exist or does not functional, controller will find out and it will spin a new engine with the same specs, with the same IBs, the same network configuration, cluster it in HA with the existing load balancers, and configure it with applications, security, SSL policies, whatever configuration used to be on the faulty unit, and it will go up processing traffic. This will be done fully automated without any click. So the traffic will go back, being processed automatically by the new engine within minutes. We call this feature auto heal. So you don't need to go and have a maintenance window, start deploying, and so on. So as you can see, we're with this architecture, we're bringing so many new technological features with auto deployment, centrally managed, auto configuration, automatic scale out and scale in, and auto healing. I hope this is okay for you guys so far. So, all right. The other value add that we are bringing today here is this centralized manager is working as flexible licensing pool and is working as an orchestrator for multiple clouds. So the same AVI centralized manager can be used to manage load balancers on-prem and can be used to manage load balancers or any cloud, or can be used to manage multiple AVI components on multiple platforms. And it can be easily orchestrating or moving AVI licensing and technology across multiple locations or across multiple platforms. So we can say, if I have two load balancers on-prem, they're deployed on vSphere, I don't use them anymore. Maybe I use them for 3 months, then there is no need to use them. I have a management decision to move to Azure Cloud. So I can ask AVI controller to delete the internal load balancers. Okay, I'm glad that you're enjoying it, Jan. So you can ask AVI controller to delete the load balancers, which is internally on the vSphere, and to build new ones with the same license on Azure. And today, we have a predefined orchestration template built with almost every out there orchestrator, with VMware, with OpenStack, with OpenShift, with public clouds, if we're talking about, and even containerized environment. I was talking about Kubernetes, VMware Kubernetes, I was talking about OpenShift and Rancher as well. So you can manage multiple AVI components from a single point of view. This controller can be anywhere. It can be on-prem, and you manage your AVI load balancers on Azure. And you can simply ask him to move the load balancers between Azure and AWS, downsize the one in AWS and increase it in Azure. Very flexible allocation and very agile environment. You're not going to be stuck with a load balancer cost that you have invested. You have to finish it for 3 years. It's very agile. You can move it, you can upsize it, you can downsize it, and you can scale it the way it demands or the way your business requirement goes with. Okay. And the most important part as well today, if we are looking at other load balancers in the market, they're all REST API exposed. But to do so, you have to integrate your, for example, Ansible book or Terraform code or Snow or any automation tool you need. You have to integrate it with every and single load balancer and WAF you have. In AVI, you can simply get your Ansible book to send commands to AVI controller, and AVI controller will execute these commands to any load balancer out there, regardless where this load balancer does exist. So we have a single unified point of automation for any load balancer WAF that it might be controlling. And here I'm talking about up to 250 load balancers. Okay. Considering, guys, if you are questioning, because I got this question, which is sometimes confusing, because this is a software-defined load balancer, that doesn't mean each load balancer is going to load balance one application or two. Each load balancer, as mentioned, it is an enterprise-grade load balancer. It can handle 1,000 of application processing traffic, and each one can scale up to 120 gig of throughput processing at the same time without you having any problem. And as mentioned, we can cluster active in technology, so we can scale the same cluster, meaning the same HA group of load balancers to go to more than 1.1 tera of throughput if you have. So it's not a load balancer per a single application. This is an enterprise grade. You have 2 load balancers or 3 load balancers on the data center, and they will load balance, secure, manage, SSL, visible, offer visibility for applications within the same data center as per your configuration. Okay, great. So I believe I make the point clear with our architecture. I make the point clear with the automation and how we are simplifying orchestration. And I would like to make this point because, okay, let me answer a question here. Can a load balancer component that I'm running today as an AWS to be moved to Azure without any change in license agreement? Well, if you're talking about license agreement with Avi, the answer is yes. License agreement between you and AWS and Azure, that's something up to you. So your license is going to be in Avi controller, and Avi controller is going to manage, automatically deploy the load balancers on your AWS and manage them, configure them, auto-heal them. But if you want to move your load balancers from AWS to Azure, you simply cancel or delete the load balancers from your AWS and ask the controller to deploy them in your Azure subscription. He'll do so, and then you will start having the same features, same functions, but in Azure. Great. So I would like to have, I've added this slide actually to the presentation because, yeah, I can see here Quentin is attending as well. So I need to give him some good slide so he will be happy about it. So as mentioned, our automation does include a whole bunch set of orchestrator. So we can automatically build on AWS, on Azure, on OpenStack, on OpenShift, on VMware. So we are pretty much multi-ecosystem integrated technology. But as we are on VMUG, I would like to take a couple slides to focus on the VMware integration that we have today. Today, we have a cool technology with NSX integration with NSX-V and T. As of today, the one we have is with V. T, it's still in the kitchen. It's supposed to be out next month. So you can, and feel free talking about it or considering it because it's pretty much done. It's in testing phases right now. So development, it's already complete for the T, I'm sorry. So what kind of integration that we have? As mentioned, Avi controller, which is a centralized manager, can be integrated with vSphere and can be integrated with NSX manager. So if we have, as you see, multiple ESX hosts, we can, from the Avi controller, which is the centralized manager, we can ask him to deploy 2 load balancers on the ESX to be used as a load balancers and WAF. And then when we create an application on Avi controller to be load balanced and secure, Avi will ask the vSphere, please deploy 2 OVA files for me, connect them to this port group, assign them this IP addresses, and Avi controller will automatically go to the load balancers and cluster them in active or an active standby. It's up to how do you configure the controller to do so. And they are up and ready. Then Avi controller will push the virtual application configuration on the load balancers. Then Avi controller will go to NSX manager and say, could you please open communication between the 2 load balancers so they can start talking to each other for session syncing and mirroring and data replication? And can you please allow these load balancers and WAF engine to be able to reach that back-end server on these ports? And can you please allow the users, which is the public users, for example, to be able to reach this virtual application that we have configured on these load balancers and WAF on port 443. So Avi controller will go automatically without you have to click anything. He will go to NSX manager and they together gonna build the firewalling policies. Well, Mr. Ray, I'm glad that you are here and answering your question. Avitrex is more about network component for cloud and software-defined data centers. Avi is more a load balancer application firewall for cloud and software-defined data centers. Okay. Well, if Ray Kafiti is attending the session, that means we have a very interesting product here. Okay. Now, all right. Now I have a question from Vera. Can you call out a few differences? Well, Vera, because I have a very limited time, I can talk to you one-to-one about the differences we have between AWS ALB and AVI ALB, but I can assure you that we have a ton more features and functions that what AWS can offer today. Okay. Now, the second point as of today is AVI can be used as an application delivery and security for VMware Horizon. You know that VMware Horizon or the VMware VDI has multiple components, the UAG, the connection servers, and the VMs that deliver. AVI can be used as a connection server load balancer, can be used as a UAG load balancer and application firewall where we can protect the web content of the UAG. And AVI can be used as a global site load balancer to make sure that multi-box load balancing for the VDI. Now, I'm glad that I received a lot of feedback on the chat that's saying it's an interesting, because usually the interesting show up after the demo. But if you feel it's interesting at this early stage, that means we're doing fantastically great. All right. One value add that we are bringing today, which does not exist on any existing load balancer in WAF, it's the visibility. As mentioned, we have added a lot of application visibility to ensure that any application that you are load balancing, any application that you are WAF protecting or global load balancing or you're handling, it's gonna be shown log in details. We have added a massive amount of log. I'll show them to you during the report, the demo. This is just a snapshot of a highlight to show you how clean, beautiful reporting we have added. All right. Personally, I work many years for application load balancing and security team. And one thing we always been bragging about is I'm a WAF expert, because it's really crazy complicated to be a WAF expert. This is one thing AVI is focusing today. Yesterday, actually, I was on a PM call with the guys on the US, and they were talking about what our roadmap to the WAF. One of the points that they highlighted that it's a zero-click WAF configuration. What we are trying, or what we have built today, we have created a simplified, configured, look and feel WAF. You're not gonna feel worried or shocked, or you have the black face when you see a WAF page, and yet you can still configure it to be secure enough for your application without compromising any level or any component of security that you got today with a 100-page WAF configuration like ASM. This has to cover, which already covering layer 3 to layer 4, DDoS protection, encryption, layer 7 WAF, talking about positive, negative. I'll talk about it in a minute. All right. Now, I would like to take a couple slides quickly to a WAF. Do we have any question before I go to the WAF? All right. No questions. That's good. Okay. So, I have a question from Muhammad. Do you have any positioning guidance when it comes to doing AVI for NSX customers? Well, keeping in mind, Muhammad, that AVI today's scope is clear. We are an enterprise-grade load balancer, a web application firewall in depth, global services load balancer, which is multiple data center load balancer. We are an SSL encryption engine, and we are an ingress controller. Now, if you have a requirement with your NSX customer for any of these products or features, then AVI is there. As mentioned, if you look into NSX load balancer, it has a basic capabilities or features with things related to load balancing. There is no WAF, There is no GSLB. There is a very limited ingress controlling functionality as well. And AVI is, if you even see the name of the slides, it's an advanced version of the basic NSX load balancer. So yes, anything advanced they need, we are the solution. Now, I already highlighted this, okay? But I want to make it even clearer. So the key challenges that we see today with web application firewalls, web application firewalls is one of the important security components. It's not the only, but it's one of the most important security components. So you need a network firewalls, and here we're talking about firewalling, NSX firewalls, software or hardware, IDB, DLB, zero trust, data leak protection, multiple security components, and web application firewalls is one of the most important parts of it. If you're not familiar with web application firewall, it's a technology that can investigate and scan web traffic for every single request and every single responses to make sure that it is a legitimate traffic, which is number one. It doesn't have any layer 7 attack, which what we call cyber or targeted attack, and it's not gonna harm, deface, or modify your application. And it's a very focused and dedicated technology to protect web applications. So we don't protect a mail server, or we don't protect Radius, or we don't protect anything not web application. You're welcome, Mohammed. Now, the main, actually, as mentioned, I think I already highlighted, the main challenges that we have to deal with a web application firewall is, you need more security, you have to have more configuration, and you have to have this, and you have to have that, and you have to have a lot of small stuff. But if you look at it, it makes policy complicated, and you are, as a security admin, you are either you configure as many and you will have more security, but probably so many people are suffering because the requests are being blocked, legitimate requests, and this is what we call false positive. And even you as an admin, you have a lack of visibility. You're gonna see just who's attacking you and what he's trying to do, but you don't have the full log of what legitimate requests he has sent. You don't have the full log of what kind of device he's using, or where he's coming from, or so many missing information that it need to be helped. And the great challenge always we have, to be honest, I was having when I was F5 as well, is when you run the WAF, WAF is a very resource intensive technology. I mean, it needs CPUs and memory to operate in the right direction and in the right way. And then you need to have a box or a virtual box that can handle it. And sometimes if number of transactions increased all of a sudden, we go back to the customer or the partner, and we says, you have to refresh the technology, or you have to divide or to have multiple WAFs, which is costly challenging, operation challenging, and nobody's gonna be happy about it. So this is exactly what we're trying to do today. We are introducing a web application firewall that cover all security features today customers they need. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. It's simplified. It's not a 4 or a 50 page of configuration that you as a security admin need to understand how they correlate, or how this will affect that, or that will affect this. It's way more simple than any other WAF. And it has so much reporting and insight, and that reporting is integrated with the load balancer reporting as well, and it's elastic. All right, I have a 1 gig WAF, it's not enough anymore. I can build a policy says, if I receive 1,000 HTTP requests per second, and I can see the performance of the application get degraded because of number of requests, you can automate it to build it automated. Please automatically scale the WAF to 5 gig, 20 gig. 120 gig, any number you want it to be. So it can be scaled. And you never force customer to buy extra licenses they don't need to buy, because just in case a spike happen, or just in case you might need it, go with a 40 gig WAF. Well, actually, this is one thing I was always highlighted to my colleague on the market, because some feedback I got from the market that Avi is cheaper than any other load balancer on the market. In fact, we're not cheaper, we're sizing it right. Because if you look into the way F5 and Citrix they size, all right, you want a WAF on the DMZ? Here you go, 20 gig box. But do you really need the 20 gig box? No, but you're gonna use it for 3 years. You won't be able to refresh it before 3 years. With now the pandemic thing, I don't think we're gonna be able to refresh it before another 7 years now. So let's be cautious, let's be, predictive and go with 20 gig. But when you run it really on the DMZ, it's probably you're gonna use 1 or 2 gig. In Avi, we leave a spare, we give you a spare, like you have 2 gig now of requirement, I can give you 5, but I don't need to give you 20, because if you needed more, you can add more anytime. And adding on Avi, it doesn't need to stop the traffic, it doesn't need to modify any network configuration, and it doesn't need to do any changes. You just add a license to the controller and ask him to upgrade that engine, and you're done. Right. Now, I've talked about the concept of the WAF, and I would like to talk about the features that we have today. So we have, I would say, 5 different components today with Avi WAF. And the component number 1 is what we call whitelisting. Actually, usually with WAFs, if you wanna allow legitimate traffic to not be interrupted or not be investigated by the WAF, you have to go to the signature or to the positive security module and do it there, which adds a complication layer. In Avi, we move the whitelisting to a component. I'll show it to you on the demo by itself. So you can build whitelisting filtering policies on the fly for a user, for a URL, for a path, for an object, as you want it, even without you need to go deep dive in the policy and search where you exactly need to find a unit or where exactly you need to filter it. We have a positive security module, which is a module that learns traffic, it reads traffic, it samples it, it investigates it, it reads it, and out of it, it will build an automatic policy for you. You don't need to do anything with Avi policy learning. And with this policy, it will show you the learned URLs, the parameters, the size of these parameters, the regular expression for every parameter. And if the request does not match what the WAF has learned, it's gonna flag it and block it. Great. And third, we have a signature. This signature is, 1 second, I'm just sending a WhatsApp to a guy who's calling me 3, 4, 5 times. So our signature is Avi created signatures. It covers all OWASP attacks, and it covers all CRS, but we have built on top of it. As of today, we have 1,400 attack signature included, and we cover around 5,000 application attack with these signatures. The fourth component, which I believe it's an interesting component, it's in the kitchen. It's almost done. It's going to be out there in July, is what we call Avi Bulk Services. And Avi Bulk Services is Avi WAF is going to be integrated with VMware Bulk Services, and attack signature will be automatically fed to the WAF, and bot sources, it's going to be fed directly to the WAF. IP reputation is going to be fed directly to the Avi WAF. Now, I would like you to know today, if you're talking about any other WAF in the market and you need to add IP reputation into the WAF, you have to pay a license for it. Today, we will pay Webroot, and we will give it to customers for free. So our IB reputation is going to be part of the WAF license, and we're not going to charge for it. Now, before I jump, as I'm talking about licensing, let me add a value here. AVI licensing module today is based on throughput. So it's a core based, and each core has a specific number of performance and throughput. So we don't license based on feature. Means if you have an engine that can handle 5 gig, you will have all AVI features included in the engine by default. You don't need to pay for the WAF. You don't need to pay for the IB reputation. You don't need to pay for the analytics module, or you don't need to pay for orchestration like what FIs are doing. Everything is included. We don't have license per feature. So it's on and off features. I'll show you on the demo, all right? Do we have any questions so far? Okay, no questions. Great. So our WAF has a neat and a really nice architecture where it's gonna utilize all 4 components to investigate the traffic. And we're gonna investigate not only the inbound traffic, we're gonna also investigate all responses coming back from the servers. So it goes to the whitelist filter, then it goes to the positive security module to protect from 0-day attacks, then it goes for signature to protect from well-known attacks. And not to mention that it will go to IB reputation, bot detection, and we have a full DDoS protection engine. To be honest, I haven't added the DDoS protection engine into my slide because today we're not Arbor, so we're not a dedicated DDoS protection. And our DDoS, it's layer 4 to layer 7 DDoS transactional based, and it starts to be basic security. So DDoS is basic. We have it by default. We can identify the sources, the destinations based on clients, sessions, URLs, and enforce how many transactions a user or a source can handle. Now I have a question from Justin. Considering NSX-V having security features like AVI providing SSL, DDoS, and WAF, customer gets a security dashboard in different UI. Well, that's a good question. Now, if I want to give you a hint, we are on a roadmap to add AVI UI into NSX Manager as an option. So they're going to be 2 options, AVI by itself for customers who doesn't have NSX, and they're going to be AVI part of NSX for customers who have NSX. So they can license AVI inside NSX Manager, and they can manage it from the NSX Manager. So this is on a roadmap. We're going to have this done hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, but we're going to still have AVI as a product by itself, can be deployed, configured, positioned to any non-even VMware customers. I hope this answers your question, Justin. And before I go to the live demo, because we are at the top of the hour, yeah, that's great. This is roadmap. I'm just verbal because I'm not a product manager. I'm not allowed to talk about roadmaps, but it's good to share some small insights. One of the greatest things actually I like about AVI is the documentation. Guys of the documentations are crazy. If you would just take a look into AVI Networks/documents or AVI Networks documents Horizon or NSX, you will have a lot of technical documentations, how to deploy, how to configure, what are the features in depth. It's going to be nice. Okay, Shiju, I've talked about licensing. Okay, but before I answer the questions coming from the guys, I have 2 questions. I would like to share about hands-on labs. Today, AVI are already exist on VMware hands-on labs. We have already 3 labs for AVI. If you have access to VMware hands-on labs, please search for these labs, which is 2037-01 and -02 and -921. They are good setups where you can practice, where you can hands and demo AVI by yourself. Personally, I like them. I use them multiple times, and they are interested. If you don't have access to VMware Hands-on Lab, you can just go there and subscribe. It's free. Now, before I go to the demo, I have a question from Shej. Shej is asking, is it a throughput license per instance? Well, it's not per instance, but yes, it's a throughput license. Our license today is per core, and each core has a performance. So if we're talking about a single core on a VMware, because platform performance is different based on the platform. If we're talking as a core on a VMware, each core can do 4 gig of layer 7, 1 gig of SSL if we're talking about advanced ECC ciphers. And then this license will be on the controller, not on the instance. So let's say that you have licensed 10 core. Yeah, thanks for joining, Quentin. So if you have a 10 core license added to the controller, you can simply ask the controller, please build me a load balancer internally with 2 cores, and build me a WAF on the DMZ with 3 cores, and build me a WAF and load balancer on AWS with 5 cores. And then you can change these combination anytime you want without interrupting the traffic by removing cores from here, adding it there, deleting this load balancer, rebuild another load balancer, and the way you like it to be. As mentioned, there is no feature licensing. Means if you have a single core, it has all AVI features included. All right. Now I have a question from SR. He says, does client IB preserved? Well, answer is yes. And just to cut the story short, I already said all load balancing and WAF features, functionality that you got today from product like F5 or Citrix or others, it's there in AVI. So if you think about, can AVI do, you know, TCP multiplexing? Yes. So any feature you have or you have used or you know customers are using with other load balancing technology, it's there by default. You don't need to question about it. So guys, this is my slide part. I'm gonna go to the demo unless you have questions. No questions? All right. Rajesh, do you see my Safari browser?
Yes, I can see.
That's great. Thank you for confirmation. So I have a setup here, and I hope you all can see it. All right, that's great. So this, what we are looking at today is AVI controller, which is the centralized manager. And as you can see, AVI controller will be managing multiple engines or instances, if you want to call them. So we can manage up to 250 instances on the same single AVI controller. AVI controller is just a control plane. So if it completely failed, engines don't care. Good. So for example, this can be on a data center doing load balancing. This can be on a DMZ working as a WAF. This can be a GSLB on the DR. This can be on AWS. So it doesn't mean single AVI controller will manage a single cloud. AVI controller can be stretched across multiple clouds and manage as many as 250 service engines, wherever they are. So if I want to have a zoom into one of the engines, I just click on it. I'm here, and I can see it, right? So I can see its configuration in summary, where it is, and how it is, what's its interfaces configuration, how much throughput it has, CPU memory, packet, transactions, interfaces. So I can see everything for that instance from network configuration and traffic as I am connected directly to that engine. You can go back and connect to any other engine. Now, if I want, because I believe Vera or someone else asked about AWS and Azure integration, if I want to move from AWS to Azure, as you can see, my setup today on AWS, because it's cheaper than Azure, because I like it. But if I want to move my load balancers and WAF from Azure, from AWS to Azure, all what I need to do is this controller, regardless where it exists, I say, okay, I have now Azure, and as you can see, we integrate pretty much with all orchestrators. I give him my subscription details. I give him my access to the subscription. I explain to him next to which VNet my load balancers are going to be deployed. And when I'm done, I'm ready to deploy automatically new engines onto this Azure subscription. Okay, so deploying HA configuration and cloud connecting, as you can see, it's predefined template. If I have an NSX, I say, okay, I have an NSX, and I go next, and then I give him my NSX manager ID address, username, and password, and then I show him what's data center I have, what's the management network, and I'm done. That's all what you have to do to get AVI integrated with vCenter, with NSX, with Azure, with AWS, with OpenShift as well, with Kubernetes if you are talking about containers. And automation kit is built in, which include auto build, auto deploy, auto heal, scale out, scale in, and many more. Now, once I have all engines are created, here we have application view, where we'll be able to see how applications look. This is one application as an example that I am load balancing. I'm going to take you inside this application. This is the virtual IB, which the user will reach to get the application. These are the pool, and these are the backend servers that we are load balancing. Avi will be showing you not only who's up and who's down, it will show you the performance of every single application. This is amazing performance. No resource penalty means it's never been down, and no anomaly. There's no anomaly while the traffic processed by the server. Means it didn't spike all of a sudden. This one is disabled, and he will explain to you that this has been disabled by the user. And these guys are working perfect. Now, if I want to go and see application configuration, I click on the application, and each application now has what we call analytics module. It's reporting in detail to show you how this application is functioning and is working. Now, all the reports I'm going to show you from now then is within the same application, which is demo app. The first dashboard that we have, which what we call end-to-end timing. With end-to-end timing, Avi will be showing you how was the end user real performance. Means I'm a user accessing this application, how much time it take me all the way from my browser to Avi web app database and all the way back to my browser. Avi will be showing you the end user performance. So you don't need to, thinking it's good, it's bad, it's slow, it's not slow. We will show in details. So here you can see over the last 6 hours, this is how the user performance was. And Avi will show you that from a user browser all the way over the net, the firewall until it reach Avi, it takes 94 milliseconds. From Avi to the web, 2 milliseconds. From the web to the app, 36 milliseconds. We're talking about round trip here. Database retrieval time, 4 milliseconds. All the way, round trip time. Can we see heuristic data from reporting perspective? Yes, you can. I'll show it to you. All right. Now, I can see now people who are really accessing my application now, and as you can see, this is a real live traffic. it takes them around 135 milliseconds. So I know how much performance of the users before they come and complain about performance. Now, I have a question about heuristic data. That means, yes, Avi can show you any report up to a year, quarter, a month. So if I want to see a year, I don't think last year my setup was up. Oh, yeah, it was in April 2019 when I got this. So I can see how was the performance across the full year. I can see the events, means what happened, server up, server down, pull up, pull down. I can see that DNS has changed. I can see any problem or change has changed, or I can see any configuration change, like I can see that this server configuration update by Muhammad Al-Ayyan. He's our engineer in Saudi, by the way. And this is exactly what he have changed. He enabled the virtual server after it was disabled. So you can see the performance here and the log of incidents and issues. Great. I can see throughput, how much traffic this application is processing, connections, requests, and more. Now, this time calculation, as you can see, Avi can show you how much time the app take, the web take, and the database take. It's platform independent and it doesn't require any agent on the application. So we'll be able to do this calculation as we are injecting a platform independent code into the request and read the responses, but there is no changes at all that needed on the web app in that database. Now, what we have also created, this is, I'm still on the same application showing you the log analytics. We have created something called log analytics, means every single request coming from a user to the load balancer and the WAF is going to be logged. And this is something I highlighted when I talk about the WAF, because other WAFs, they're gonna show you the attack. Avi will show you everything coming from the user, good and bad, in details. Now let me show you an example. Today, 11th of May, 12:12 Dubai time, this guy, he accessed this URL, he get 200 OK from the server. This is the size of the response, and this is the time of the transaction. If I really need more details, I just click, and I'm inside it. I can see the breakdown of the timing. Most of the time has been spent on the internet, and I can see the servers are performing really fast. Guy is IP address, he's coming from India, he's using iPhone, no, it's iPad, I'm sorry, iOS. It's a Safari as browser for mobile, TLS 1.2 as an SSL version, RSA as a certificate. He accessed this web. This is the NATed IP address, and this is the server who received the request. You know, I worked 15 years before with other security and load balancing companies. I haven't seen the server where the request been sent. This is the URL that has been requested. This is all the headers has been sent with the browser, and this is what the server has replied. So I have a full detail. And as you can see, over the last 6 hours, it logged 28,000 log. So this has been designed to log millions of logs for you across the time. And we're not expecting user to go and read them one by one. For example, this is another guy, maybe he's the same guy, so let me try to see another guy. This guy from Singapore using Mac, computer Chrome. But to make things easy, we have created a search engine, which is JSON search engine, just like Google, you can search, but we have added all the commands into the search engine, so you don't need to remember them or to be an expert. So let's say that, okay, Hamza called me in the morning and he says, you know what, application was too slow in the morning. Show me Hamza client IDs, and then I type Hamza's client IDs, or I can search it, and I find all his requests, just like that. Okay, what time you have the slowness, Hamza? 9 to 9:30. Okay, I can filter 9 to 9:30. And as I mentioned, I can go up to 1 year back. I can find his request 6 months, 2 days, 9 in the morning, 5:02. That's without sending it to a SIM. But if you want to send it to a SIM, we're fine. So I find 2,000 requests from Hamza at this time. Wow, that's a lot of requests. Okay, so I can come here and we have reporting engine. This reporting engine will on fly build the report based on the filter log. So I say, okay, build me timing report. Then he searched the log and show me how was the timing for Hamza between 9 and 9:30. Well, yes, we can send traffic as a SIM, as a syslog, and we can send it to through email as well. All right, now you're welcome. Now look, he's showing me that average time for Hamza was 72. Most of his request has been served in less than 100 milliseconds. He has no slowness problem. So Hamza, there is no slowness problem. He says, oh, no. I was talking about error pages. The server was giving me error pages. Okay. So I can ask, what did he receive? Okay, I have a question from Vikar Abbas. He says the data is stored and embedded Postgres database appliances. No, actually, this data is stored and processed and managed by the controller itself. There is no extra appliance. There is no extra databases. There is no logging engines. It's only controller. One component who do management, orchestration, licensing, logging, everything you need. So I am going to ask what he received as a responses. I can see that 75% is okay, 18 has been redirected, and 7% is error. Okay, show me the errors, and I filter. So I got all the errors that he got. Now, yeah, he's right. He received errors from the server. I can even drill down to pinpoint the error. Okay, is it something to do with a single server? You know, I have 7 servers being load balanced. Which server is giving the error? This specific server is giving me error, so I filter it. Okay. Is the error something to do with SSL? Because I'm doing SSL offloading. Now, I will look into the log and he says all 100% of the SSL transactions are successful. They are running on RSA, and these are the ciphers. There's nothing wrong with SSL. Which URLs he tried to call when he received an error? Okay, it's me being lucky, this URL. So I pinpoint the problem. So I can clearly see that the error is being sent back from the server to the load balancer. Load balancer sends it to the user. When the user is landing on this server specifically, out of the 7, only this, and he tried to open this URL, the server reply says, I don't have it. So this image does not exist on the server. So I can simply take this picture, send it to the application team, says, this server does not have this picture. It's giving error to the people, which is 7.1% of the requests. Can you fix it? So it's not only I'm able to find out what the users they are receiving or what kind, I can also use it to troubleshooting. Now I have a question from Tabriz. Where do we place the traditional 3-tier topology? Can it be stand-alone or need to overlay NSX-T dependency? I don't really understand the question, Tabriz, but as a load balancer, it's gonna be, if you're talking about NSX, it's gonna be connected to the tier 1 router. It's going to be its own segment, and it can communicate with all workloads from networking perspective. So this is a quick demonstration on this logging. I highly recommend you to go to hands-on lab, the one I highlighted to you, so you can go through this by yourself. And as you can see, we have so much reporting. I can find the version, the URL, and information. Much more reporting here we have today. I can show you who are the people accessing the application, top countries, top devices, top URLs, top browsers, top operating systems. Okay, if I want to see it from Yeah, Budi, the hands-on lab. If I want to see it from Indian perspective, I just click on India, and here is going to tell me that Indian people are using 2.6 less than computers. They are using 12% Chrome than the last 6 hours. These are the top URLs from Indian folks comparing to the previous. If I want to check on Chrome perspective, so correlate the data. Each application has a security dashboard. If WAF is enabled, you will have a WAF dashboard. I'll show it to you in a minute. And this security dashboard will show you a full detail on how SSL for this application is working. It's not only showing you a number of SSL. I can show you detailed SSL encryption and decryption. I can show you how SSL transaction is going on, good or bad. Avi will audit while the traffic is flying. Avi will audit all these 9 components, the PFS, the strength, the algorithms, the ciphers, the expiry, and if there's anything wrong, he will highlight it for you to fix. Because this is a demo setup I have, it's self-signed certificate. So rather than waiting customers or people, clients to complain, I can fix issues on fly without having people to tell me it's slow or people to tell me I have a pop-up on the certificate or anything. So much reporting when things come to SSL, key, certificate transaction, and a full DDoS protection and detection dashboard. Well, surprise, I'm not under any kind of DDoS attack, which makes me fine. Do you have any question? Because I want to take you to the WAF. Any questions? Okay. Now, I've shown you the log analytics in high level because there's a lot actually to dive if you want to go and go to the hands-on labs. But if you want to see how to configure it, everything in Avi is wizard-driven. So here you can see a simplified wizard where you can configure the web, the port, the pool, the SSL certificate. Everything is a wizard-driven and easy and predefined. Even profiles, just like we have all applications profiles, TCP profiles, and many more. We have IRLs, which content switching. We have it. It's more about graphical wizard-driven IRLs. So if the client is not coming from, as an example, Qatar, I would like it to be redirected to a blocking page. What about sandboxing? Can you ask the full question, Asar, please? Okay. Now, let's go to the WAF. WAF is a profile. It's a policy to be attached to the application. That means you can enable a WAF to a specific application and load balance another application. So it's selective. So if you look into the WAF configuration here, it's simplified, it's clean, and what we have done, actually, we have divided between manual and automatic learning. Today, if you look into other WAFs, they have either manual full or automatic full. What we have done to simplify things, because if you are taking it to automatic, it will keep learning forever. And if you take it to manual, that means you have to do a lot of manual configuration. For me, when I was working with, yeah, of course you can do app publishing with Avi. This is our job. Publishing means load balancing, securing, SSL, encrypting, and reverse proxy. Yes, we can do that. Where I was talking about manual and automatic WAF learning. So what we have done is we pretty much divided into two parts. If you need to do a WAF security policy, we have divided in two parts. Now, how we have did that manual part where you have to feed manually anything easy to be collected and ask our WAF to automatically learn anything not easy to be feed or fed. How do we do that? For example, If I ask the application guy, I'm securing a SharePoint. If I ask him, is this a PHP or ASPX? He should be able to answer it. So application type, we have to feed it. If I ask him, do you have an EXE in your application? He should be able to answer it. Then I can modify this to tell what URLs. If I ask him, what are the static objects in your application? He should be able to answer it. But if I ask him a question, what are the URLs, or what are the parameters, or how the parameter look like, or how big each URL is going to be, it's pretty much impossible to any application developer to answer it. So this is what we are going to learn. You have to tell him how much traffic to learn, accuracy to learn, interval to learn, and like simple couple clicks. And when it's done, we have Avi is going to learn the application for you. In my application, he learned these URLs. If I want to look at in any of them, I can see that he learned the full URL, and he learned the parameter inside it, how many times it has match. If I look into the parameter, he show me what are the signatures attached to it, how big is the parameter, what's the pattern of the parameter, means what the user is allowed to add. The user is allowed to add A to Z, capital and small, 0 to 9, and he's not allowing to add minus sign, and he's okay to add a dollar sign. So this is, reg expression is going to be created automatically, so you don't need to have that advanced security configuration and to worry about it. This will list all URLs, all parameters with the character set inside it automatically for you. And here we have a signatures where it has a list of attacks, for example, PHP attacks or cross-site scripting attacks or SQL injection attacks. As mentioned, we have around a 1400 attack signature where you can simply switch on or switch off, or you can add any exception to any policy. Once the configuration is done, it's part of the application. So, yeah. Okay, so I'll show you an example. Give me a minute. So if I come here and try to access this application, this is my application. All right, so we just try to find the username. All right, this is just a generic testing or demonstration application. It's going through Avi now. My WAF policy is, yeah, thank you, Mahmoukan, appreciate it. So let's say that if I want to say, okay, show me the first user, he will just give me normal application behavior. But if I am a little bit expert on attacks, so I can just say, okay, you know what? If I ask him to find all databases and select, let me think, select, yeah. Something like this, guys, because I'm not teaching you how to hack things. I'm just testing it with you. And then I ask him about what, the database. I think he should be able to get the database. So this is where I'm asking him to select all tables, and out of it, try to find the database. Yes, TLS 1.1 is supported. So I've sent this query, and as you can see it, it's very simple SQL injection. I just created, and here it will show me all the users. Look, he found me all the users, and he found me the name of the database, which is cool. And I can start targeting the name of the database. So I can just start building on top of it. I'm not here to teach you how to hack, guys. I'm just giving you an example. Okay. All right. So if I want to make it a little bit longer, I can just find passwords if I want to, where I can do that. And I got all the passwords as hashed. So simply, that's how you do an application attack. Now, if I go to the WAF and I then ask him to start stopping traffic, because I don't want anybody to know my database, just ask him to enforce and save. Or I don't want anybody to be able to extract username and passwords for other people, else I'm gonna be fired if I'm a security guy. So I'll try to apply the same attacks again. I think he remembered them, that's great. So that's where my WAF will show me this fantastically looking page. This is a fully customized, and here he gives me a unique ID. We call it request ID. Just copy it, go to the AVI log on that specific application. All right. Know what you need to do. You don't need to type any command or anything. You just paste it. All right. And then control over search and find you that specific request. So even if you have 1 million, it finds it to you. I'm looking inside it, and he says there's a fantastic guy from AE is using Mac, Chrome, Safari, which is me. What he did, he tried to do something, but it was blocked by the WAF. He never reached a server because he was stopped before the WAF. Now, Tabriz, you have a question about the sizing requirement. If you can drop me an email one-to-one, it's at sulaiman@vmware.com. We can size it together. Okay? And then I can, Avi will show me that, I hope you have my email. Avi will show me how much time the request investigation have taken, how much the body investigation have taken. And here he says it's a positive security flag and signature flag. Now, if I look inside it, it's obviously telling me that there's an SQL injection has been submitted inside the parameter, which means does not look like how normal parameter is. And here he will tell me what SQL injection. And he says, look, a common database detection has been detected. And this is the exact attack that I have sent. He says this is an SQL injection. Does not look like how this parameter, which is the ID parameter, usually look, which is a positive part of the security. And it's targeting database name extraction. And it's a security issue because it violates all these security standards, including OWASP, PSS, PCI DSS, and so on and so forth. So it's not very complicated and easy to be reporting in detail. Now, if I go back here and say, sorry, let me try to apply other attack where I get the passwords to show you that again. Right. Get another ID. And then I come here, clear the filter, and then, sorry, paste this again, search. Are you guys following? I have to get them searching over the past month. Just get this to be a little bit. Rahim, you are a master. What you are following? Okay. So here we have the guy, which is me, and here you have the URL. You have all the information that has been sent, as well as this does not comply with a positive security module. It's an SQL injection attack, and this is a common attack, string attack in MySQL, and this is attack specifically. So it's not gonna give you the full payload and you need to know what's going on or what's wrong with payload. It's simplified for security people. You don't need to be a security master. If somebody says, why my request has been blocked, I did nothing wrong, you can simply say, honey, it's an SQL injection what you have sent. this is the type of the SQL injection that you have trying to do, and this is what you have sent, which personally I believe it's an SQL injection. Now, if you think this is a false positive, means it's legitimate traffic, we should not block. You don't need to go to the policy and modify it from there. Simply, you can come here and add it. And he says, I will accept this for this guy, for this URL, for this parameter. You can modify to add more guys, or you can modify to add a star URL, and you can just modify it. Once I modify it, and I try to run that attack again, it goes through because now I ask the WAF in a very simple click. I'm fine with that. And if you go to the policy, look inside it. There's an exception, which is not this. Well, actually, there's multiple exceptions in my policy. So which one? Yeah, this is the exception that has been added automatically to the policy. I don't want it to be added. I just simply remove it and save. So easy to secure, to configure a WAF now without compromising any part of the security that you like. I remove it, I run it again, it should block me. Simple as that to manage a policy. I think I've taken much more than my time, but I hope I clarify the point. Okay, great. So I'm sharing my email address, sulaiman@vmware.com. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna share it to everybody. Okay, so guys, do you have any question? Because I'm done with this session. This is an overview of the technology, and I'll be more than happy to help you. I highly encourage you guys to go to these resources to dig more, or to reach me one-to-one if you have any question or if you need any more information. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you for joining me for this VMUG session, and I hope it was helpful and useful.
Thank you, Hamza, giving this wonderful session. And this session is recorded, and slides will be available. We will send out a notification to everyone with all those details.
Sure, Rajesh, thank you. So guys, do you know it's a very difficult time nowadays because of the pandemic? So anyone who needs the slides to be shared with him, it's 5 dirhams per person. Okay?
Okay, Hamza. So
you
can put your account numbers. Then
exactly. It's 5 dirhams, Rajesh.
Only 5 dirhams.
Account now. Yeah, it's 5 dirhams only.
Yeah, it's all the 5 is for Hamza. I don't have any commission. Okay, guys.
We're gonna split it 50-50, buddy. Don't worry. Thank you, guys. Have a fantastic week ahead, and feel free reaching me or Rajesh for any extra details needed. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining our session. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.